Okay, first item on the agenda is the closed session portion of the meeting. May I have a mover and seconder for motion to go into closed session under the authorities as printed in the agenda? Councillor Smith. Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Council approved the closed session minutes from the March 7th meeting in closed session, as well discuss subjects relating to an identifiable individual, acquisition of disposition of land and matters under the solicitor client privilege. Time being 7:03, I'd like to call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the traditional territory acknowledgement, followed by a moment of silence. Council of the Township of Red Rock hereby acknowledges that we are on the traditional territory of the Robinson Superior Treaty and that the land we gather on is home to the Red Rock Indian Band, the Anishinaabe, and the Métis people. Administration advises that there is no amendments to the agenda. Do any members of council wish to make any amendments? Seeing none. Can I have a mover and seconder for motion to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Gladden. Councillor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Are there any declarations of interest to disclose? No. Okay, tonight we have Red Rock Development Group here with some of their team to present the mill redevelopment concept plan with council and a good number of people in the crowd.
Hi, everybody. It's Peter with the BMI Group, General Manager at Red Rock Developments. Unfortunately, I couldn't be with you today. My flight was canceled this morning, but nice to be here. And I have my colleague, Paul, here. Paul, you want to say hi, and then we'll kick it over to Michael Blatz.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, we're not quite in Red Rock today, but I can assure you we'll be on our way as of tomorrow. And by Thursday, we hope to be ice fishing on Lake Superior. So if you do have an interest to speak with us directly, we'll be in town. And very, very early on in this meeting, Peter confirmed we have 10 rooms at the Red Rock Inn. So if you really, really want to talk to us, you can find us late in the evening of, I guess, Wednesday night and Thursday night, staying over at the Red Rock Inn with both our senior leadership team as well as some of our investors that are flying in from the Netherlands. So always happy to accommodate. And again, sorry that we couldn't be there in person with you today, but always happy to meet at another time in person.
All right. I have a bit of a presentation prepared. I'm not able to share my screen. Would that be allowed?
I think I can share my screen, Michael, if you want me to pull it up, and then you can present.
Sure.
Okay, let's try this. Oh, Whitney, or would we be able to share a screen or enable Michael? Okay, Michael, do you want to try again?
There we go. Yeah.
Here we go.
All right. My name is Michael Blatz. I'm a planner and urban designer at Scatliff Miller Murray. Thanks for having me today to talk about the Red Rock Mill redevelopment concept plan. The firm that I work for, Scatliff Miller Murray, we do all kinds of planning, urban design, and landscape architecture kind of across Ontario, the prairies, and even into BC a little bit. And for this one, BMI and Red Rock Development contracted us to help them kind of put together a concept plan for these lands that they acquired. And so this is kind of that first step into redeveloping the land. It's very conceptual at this stage. But today I just want to share what we're working with. And if you hear some noise in the background for me, that's just my dog. He's chewing on a bone behind me. And I apologize if there's any interference there. A big screen for you. So I think as we first started looking at Red Rock, we were looking at the regional opportunities. You know, it has all this proximity to nature, to these provincial parks, to the national park, to Lake Nipigon, to Lake Superior, and also to a lot of really good infrastructure. To you know, it's close to Highway 1, close to shipping routes on Lake Superior, and then kind of some emerging opportunities with the Ring of Fire and kind of discussions at the provincial level about developing that. And so the site itself that we're looking at is, as everyone knows, just kind of southeast of the built-up town site. And as far as the current conditions of the site, as it is kind of today, that we have a few different sort of remnants of the old mill. You can see kind of right in the middle is where the main structure was. There's different stockpiles, wood chips and lime. There was a landfill down in the southeast, lagoons down in the south as well as a bit of an internal road network. But in addition to kind of the mill stuff that everyone knows about, there's also all these kind of hidden little gems of nature and great views of the lake, and so it's at least for me, not as an outsider, it was really interesting to see the kind of duality of the site and having both the industrial nature to it, but also a lot of really great natural elements. And here's a photo of the site taken, I believe, last summer or early spring. And this is approximately from the water tower, looking southeast. This is when some of my colleagues were on site last year. As far as some of the aspirations for BMI and for Red Rock redevelopment, we did a lot of talking about what was important for the site and what was important for this development. And we kind of boiled it down to these 5 main aspirations. The first being related to remediation and getting the site ready for development, for redevelopment. So there's some obviously historic scars on the land from its industrial use, and just some kind of remnants of the mill that can be cleaned up in various different ways, whether it's removal or some of the buildings can be renovated, and that can kind of get the site ready for redevelopment, and also working with partners on that, such as, you know, finding innovative ways to remediate things by working with post-secondary institutions, that sort of thing. The second is talking about increasing the housing supply in the town generally, and specifically on the site as well, and kind of looking at a diverse range of housing options and kind of facilitating growth of the community. And that really leads into economic development as well, talking about getting more people and therefore getting more businesses as well to support them. And that those businesses can be both to serve the local needs, you know, more stores and shops and those sorts of things, more services, but it can also be replacing that big loss of the mill as kind of a major employer, and definitely thinking about new ways of doing business, you know, collaborating with the Red Rock Indian Band and kind of thinking of a more sustainable long range view of economic development, not just easy wins, but things that will build up the town for generations to come. Then we have connecting with nature. As I mentioned before, there's some really great nature and natural sites within the site, and then there's also some really great views just outside, up on the mountain or across the bay. And we were really thinking about how to enhance that, how to preserve some of that, how to rehabilitate some of that, and then also just connect with the surroundings. And lastly, kind of a bit of an ethos, I think, when thinking about all of it, kind of underlying is leading with innovation and embracing bold ideas, innovative solutions, emerging clean technologies to kind of not make this just like every other place, but really think with innovation. So with that, I'll move over to the concept plan itself. It's a high level plan. It's meant to be long range. We're thinking 25-year build out, and it's definitely something that we see as an evolving plan. As we respond to local needs, to market opportunities, to real life challenges on the ground, this plan is likely to get tweaked and adapted and made better over time. But you'll see that it's overall divided into 5 main districts. So we have the residential neighborhood in yellow, the commercial district in red in the center, energy and employment district in gray, the resort district in the southeast in purple, and then some open space and recreation kind of sprinkled throughout. And then in addition to that, we've thought about some transportation, whether it's new roads or kind of fixing up existing ones, establishing and connecting some recreational trails, and reestablishing that railway. So with that, I'll talk about each of those districts in a little bit more detail. The residential neighborhood, it's mostly on the west side of the site, closest to the town site, and we kind of saw that as a natural expansion, an extension of the town, and a good transition from the kind of existing to all this new redevelopment. And the idea here is to develop, a lot of different types of housing, a lot of different tenures, price points, a real diverse range of housing to get a diverse range of people. Next, I'll talk about the commercial district. This is kind of right in the heart of the site. You can see it's kind of at the intersection of these 2 major roadways that we've laid out. And here, I think we would see a mix of small scale shops, some larger amenities that the town may need, and kind of mixed in with some higher density residential uses if there's demand for that sort of thing. And I just love the image. I think it's from Wyoming, up in the top left of this main street, just looking right down at a big hill, and you can. I was there about this time last year, and I was just really struck by that view of looking down some of your streets up at the mountain, and I think that image just really resonates with me, and I hope you can kind of envision that sort of thing as well. In terms of the energy and employment district, here's where this is kind of the economic driver of the whole project, and certainly we hope to reinvigorate the local economy through this, and so there's kind of a few different things that we're thinking about with this. Number one is kind of capitalizing on some of the stuff I talked about right off the top. The just great access to a few different transportation routes. So you have you're close to the Trans-Canada Highway. We have a CP rail line coming through the town, and a spur line coming into the site, and then this existing port that's fallen into a little bit of disrepair right now, but I think BMI is working on revitalizing that, which I'll let them speak to later. And so I think a big portion of this district is thinking about warehousing and logistics and transportation and moving things through the site in various different ways, including some emerging technology as I alluded to before, thinking about drones and those sorts of new ways of moving things. And so when we think of what might be moved, we're looking at the products coming out of the Ring of Fire potentially. We're thinking about timber. That's always top of mind for Northern Ontario, and then definitely thinking about what else can be done in those industries at the same time. Are there processing opportunities? With the Ring of Fire, it might be lithium hydroxide processing. With maybe there's still some timber processing. And then in addition to all that, kind of some new ways of doing things like energy generation. Kind of here we're showing a solar farm. It could be any number of sustainable energy generating sources. And then also thinking about vertical farming, which is a great way to feed people locally and use some of the energy generated on site and some of the heat generated maybe from some of these industrial uses to feed people locally. And here's a rendering that one of BMI's consultants did for the port, conceptual at this stage. Next, I'll talk about open space and recreation. As I spoke about earlier, I think there's some really great existing open spaces on the site. There's some beaches down in some of the lower portions. There's potential connections to the mountain, and then there's little pockets for new parks and kind of rethinking what some of those spaces might be. And I think one that could be really impactful for the whole community is thinking about making a park under the water tower or getting public access to some of these shorelines kind of further into the site.
Michael,
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, you have about 10 minutes. We'll give you till 7:30, okay?
Okay. Thanks.
And give me a couple minutes too, Michael, just to give some updates on site.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks.
This is my second last slide, so I'm almost done, I promise. And then you can listen to someone else. And so the last district that we've thought about is the resort district, and so this is another source of economic development, but it's obviously a little bit different from commercial or the kind of energy and employment districts. So it's more focused on tourism, but also in incorporating some limited residential in the form of kind of private cottages, and also some recreation with trails and those kind of amenities. And so in here we might see things like a Nordic spa or some yurts, or even a more formal kind of resort type use. So with that, I'll just share that concept plan again. I know I kind of went through it pretty quickly. This is kind of, as I mentioned, it's a work in progress, and I think it always will be as long as markets are changing and new ideas are coming forward and definitely responding to local ideas. And I want to hand it over now to Peter to kind of talk about what's being done right now to advance the plan.
Perfect. Thanks, Michael. So I'm just going to share my screen here quickly and just give you kind of updates on what's going on right now. We're working really hard on the site. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay, great. So This is a shot from this morning. You can see us with the front loader clearing out the roads. I'm quite proud that the site's been open most of the winter. And yeah, it's been it's been a lot. This is an image taken from January. So a big part of what Michael talked about is environmental remediation. So we are currently engaged with Pinchin Environmental out of Thunder Bay, doing a phase 1 and a phase 2. So the drill rigs were here in January and again in March. As Michael talked about the idea of the port, we've been out on the ice doing bathymetric readings to understand the depths in front of the shoreline there, which involved drilling out into the bay. Winter has not stopped us. The scale house is one of the first buildings that you see as you go into site, and we are remediating this as our office. So over the coming month, you're going to see a transformation here, whereas as we open things up in the future, you can come and meet with our team, and we've got a good vantage of the lake and of the gatehouse there. You guys, I'm sure were in this building a long time ago, but we've managed to clean out some of the stuff from the past. Very importantly is electricity and getting power back onto the mill site. So working with Hydro One and Kapush Electrical, you've probably seen some poles going up, and yeah, tough to have a big development without power. So this is beginning. ESA is inspecting some of the work tomorrow, actually. And you can just see our guys busy at work here. You know, I'll share one last photo before I hand it over, but see myself, Jesse, and Emily there. He's our site supervisor. He's moved into town. Charlie. We have our construction manager living on Brompton. So I just kind of want to end with our commitment to the community, and that we're working really hard. So with that, I will end.
Maybe I'll just add to that, and I know we're running out of time, and I want to be sure that we give ample time as well for any questions. But a foundational piece to this, I think some of you have seen items in the press or out in the media, is that the team together in our partnership with the Red Rock Indian Band, which is, I think, foundational to all of this coming together, spent a lot of time at PDAC. It's primarily tied to the port. You know, there's ample media out in the press about this. It's about attracting not just the goods moving out of the Ring of Fire, but also lots of heavy duty equipment that's going to move into not just the Ring of Fire, but the existing mines. We have a few meetings as we come into town this week with a few groups that were keen to learn more about that. And one of the things that you know, that we're really pushing on is the revitalization of that port as it was once operating, and we're looking to restore it. So we've put in a submission into the ministry's office, and they've already provided comments back. Our team will work expeditiously to provide them comments back. So it's going back and forth, but the intent is to actually do significant capital works there this spring, summer, early summer, and to see our first barge that we've acquired in the group traverse the Great Lakes en route to Red Rock. So that's just a very foundational piece. And I think to your first point, Michael Blatz, in your commentary, this is a long-term plan. I think in the full-fledged proposal, you've had to compress it here due to time, but you know, we talk about, you know, 15, 20, 25 years as this evolves. And a big part of that is the environmental cleanup. That's what we're starting with. And I'll just note that, you know, former owners, you know, left a bit of a mess, and, you know, we're there diligently to clean it up. But I think, you know, there was conversations around some of those owners coming to the table and supporting this initiative. And we very much look forward to that. I think we've got a plan. We've got the right partners to execute on this, to realize this. So, and maybe in just closing, you know, we're very much open to comments. This is just an intention of a draft plan, and lots of things are going to change, and we want to meet with lots of people, you know, for input. So I'll leave it there, maybe over to council or anybody else happy to answer some questions.
Councillor Muir.
Thanks. Thank you very much for the presentation. I think one of the big things for me is when I look at presentations and I hear long-term, I always think of my kids, 8 and 4, right? So right now, like the remediation of the site to me is huge, right? Knowing what's going in that water, what's on that site. I'm glad that you're committing to cleaning that site up. And tonight you're making that a public announcement. I also am hoping that the township and the folks in the township would be able to see some environmental assessments if those can be provided. So we know exactly what's happening at that site.
Yeah, so I think that we're very open to that. Matter of fact, we hope that the town can work with us, to speak to some of the former owners. I think now falling to Cascades, as they had committed to support that as well. But I don't think there's secrets here. We work very closely with the MECP on these issues. And when the time is right, Pynchon Environmental can specifically sit with council and staff and walk you through the results as they come in. We have a lot of data. We're continuing to acquire new data. And one thing that I can say with some assurance, as we've been monitoring some of this over the past years, is that, our primary concern is the lake, the Great Lakes, and any leachate that might or might not, over the past have spilled into the lake. That's our primary concern. That's being contained. We have staff on that all the time. Peter, I'm remiss. We didn't include a picture of our, our pump and our staff working very hard to maintain that. So I can assure you that, that's a daily task for us. And by all means, we're happy to share that with both staff and council.
I'll just quickly add, we have 5 purchase POs out with Pynchon Environmental in Thunder Bay. So they've been on site, they've been great. And yeah, it's very active, as you've seen with those drill rigs in the middle of winter.
All right. Well, thank you. Honestly, thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And I better correct that. My daughter is 5. She sees this video and says I called her 4. She's going to be super mad. So she is 5 now. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, thank you for your report. I think it might be best if in a couple months that you hold a public session at the Legion or the Red Rock Inn and have this presentation so everybody can see it. Sometimes it's instead of, it's great that you can zoom in, but when you can talk face to face with somebody and see the plans and see it in person, then that would be beneficial.
That will we can commit to that today. We'll be sure to do that. Matter of fact, I think what would probably, and I hope you would agree with me, be very good is if we do that as weather breaks, and we'll invite people on the site. I think that's, that gate's been closed for too long and we want people to see and to come in. So part of us getting the office ready is to do that. Have the gate open, drive in, come talk to us. You want a tour, you want to have a talk, there's no secrets. We want to be very open and transparent. So I think what we'll do is organize sort of a site tour, if you will, and then with some presentations at the end of it, so people can really get the context and sort of stand in those places and walk to the port. And Peter and the team have just done an incredible job. He's even built a little, what do you call it, Peter? An MVP. I think some of
A little spa, yeah.
Little spot at the top of the hill, and it's pretty neat to see. So definitely we'll do that. We'll commit to that for sure.
Okay, thank you again. And on behalf of council, our motto is if it's good for Red Rock, then we're going to support it. So let's hope that your plan is beneficial to the township and to all our residents. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, the minutes of the last regular meeting, March 7th, are at items 5.1 on the agenda. Are there any errors or omissions to note in the minutes? Seeing none, can I have a mover and seconder for motion to receive the minutes, to approve the minutes? Councillor Smith, Councillor Gladden, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, first item, information purposes only relating to a request from other municipalities. Do any members of council have any questions or wish to support the resolution? Councillor Muir.
Yeah, I'll put a motion into support.
Okay. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to support the correspondence from the municipality of North Perth regarding school bus stop cameras? Councillor Muir, Councillor Gladden, all in favor? I'm not sure why these aren't on there already, but motion's carried. Yeah, it costs money. Okay, item 6.2, information purposes only regarding a posting for a strategic plan intern for NOMA. Do any members of council have any questions or remarks on this item? Seeing none. Yeah. Information purposes only regarding the 2023 and 2024 annual work schedules from the Ministry of Natural Resources. Do any members of council have any remarks on this? Seeing none. 6.5. Information purposes only relating to an Ontario news release on approval for First Nations led plan for the road to the Ring of Fire. Do any members of council have any remarks on this item? Did I miss one? Okay, I'll finish this one and then go back. Okay, seeing none. Okay, 6.4, information purposes only relating to an Ontario news release on changes to the parliamentary assistant roles. Do any members of council have any remarks on this? Just a bunch of releases we've been given. Okay, information purposes only relating to an Ontario news release on the federal government not matching Ontario's pledge on Rain of Fire until assessments are done. Do any members of council have any remarks? Seeing none. Information purposes only relating to an Ontario news release on the province's investment for high-speed internet access. Do any members of council have any remarks? Seeing none. Okay. 6.8, information purposes only regarding the Ministry of Environment's amendment to the municipal class environmental assessment. Do members of council have any remarks on this? Councillor Muir.
I don't want to, is this related to the Bill 13 at all?
Like on build new houses and.
Yeah, is this kind of,
Yeah, I think I think a lot of it is tied together because they're trying to, move those processes along. So I mean, we share this information for council, and I mean, more for information only, but yeah, I would say it's probably all tied into speeding up that process.
Okay, 6.9, information purposes only regarding the 2023 draft meeting agenda for the NOMA annual meeting and conference. Do any members of council have any remarks? Okay, 6.10 is information purposes only regarding an update from the Thunder Bay DSAB board. Everyone has that report. Any remarks on it? Seeing none, information purposes only regarding the second call for nominations for NOMA. Do any members of council have any remarks? Seeing none. Okay, 8.3, right? There's nothing on 7. Reports from boards. over there. All right. Okay, 8.1, a report from the Director of Operations. Do any members of council have any questions of Mr. Westerman? Councillor Muir?
Yeah, just with regard to the heat exchangers, Blair, are they gummed up or they're starting to corrode, or is it
They're
rust?
pretty corroded. Yeah, they're aluminum heat
That's
exchangers.
what I thought. Yeah, okay. That's it.
Any other questions? Councillor Gladden?
Yeah, just regarding the lift station rehab project. So when will we see report back from Hatch?
The report back from Hatch, they're working on the design phase right now. I was in talks with one of the designers today from Hatch. So they're still compiling details for pumps and hardware that'll be reinstalled in the wet wells. But I think if I remember right, they should have proposal for tender by first week of April or something around that time period.
Any other questions or comments?
I just wanted to point one thing out. I made an error on the date and the water distribution. Second paragraph, I received water samples on March 3rd, not May 3rd.
Thank you. I don't have any, but great job on the snow removal over the last snowstorm that we got. So I think everybody was appreciative that you guys were early on that second day.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'll relay that to the crew.
Yep. Councillor Muir or Councillor Smith?
No, what, never mind, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the report? Councillor Brand, Councillor Gladden, all in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Thanks, Blair.
All right.
Okay, 8.2 is a report from the Community Development Officer. I know you speak quite loudly, but do you mind pulling that a little closer, just in case people can't hear? Okay, do any members of council have questions? Ms. Davis, Councillor Muir.
Number 4, we'll sign the relocation. Do you know where they're gonna put it?
Yes,
Far.
so the MTO has already approved our permit to move the sign basically directly across from where it is now, but on the new highway.
Okay.
So there's a rock cut just west of Stokes Drive, Stokes Road.
Right.
It's right at the edge of the bush line after that rock cut.
Okay.
So the new location has already been approved, roughly 1 kilometer east of the Red Rock turnoff.
Okay.
And that move has to be done in the winter just with where the sign is located. It's complete marsh. So we have to have snow and frozen ground to access the sign. So that's all been arranged for removal and installation in the spring.
Any other questions or comments? Or are there a couple of things you'd like to highlight? Oh, sorry. Did you have something? Councillor Brand.
I was just going to ask about number 11, meeting with veteran banner program.
Yes, so I had a meeting with the Memorial Banner Program. It is a veteran-run program to honor veterans starting Remembrance Week, so roughly around Thanksgiving. Banners would go up for approximately a month, coming down about a day or two after Remembrance Day. Community members, family members can purchased a banner for $150 in honor of their veteran, with $10 being donated to a homeless veterans program. With the dimensions of our existing business banners, we would, an idea is to swap them out for the month of Thanksgiving to just after Remembrance Day. So we're in the process of making the final arrangements with the Memorial Banner Program before we release it to the public, but we would have roughly until about midsummer to get them all done. Takes about 3 weeks production time, and then determining either through in-kind donations or increased fees to cover the cost of putting the banners up and removing them. Because they'd only be up for a short period of time, the banners would be quite durable. They're made out of a vinyl, so very similar to what's up there now with our businesses, and they would fit on the existing brackets. So there would be a website designated specifically for Red Rock's veteran banners. And community members can either go online and fill out the information there, or they can approach me and I can assist them with that process.
Great, thank you. Is there anything that you'd like to highlight in your report?
So there's 2 sections that are coming up for resolution, but a main thing is tomorrow morning, the lobby to the interpretive center is going to be closed for all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday. The Evolution AV is coming down to install the new interactive floor exhibit system. So we are getting our interactive map back. So the equipment's going up over the next 2 days, and then final video testing will be done next week with hopefully the end of the month, beginning of April, we will have the brand new exhibit open to the public. That is probably the biggest one.
How about go over a couple of the motions we're going to be passing tonight?
Okay,
Possibly
yes.
passing.
The other update I wanted to put to focus on is the recreation center rehabilitation project. So they're finalizing the engineering drawings, and it's expected to go out for tender the beginning of end of April, early May, with construction to start the first week of July. The bowling alley is anticipated to be done this summer. We may end up having a late start to the bowling season, so end of September, early October. But we're expecting to have the new bowling lane ready to go this fall. So lanes, approaches, gutters, etc.
Councillor Muir?
Just with regard to the going to tender,
Yes,
do yourself a favor and put a mandatory site visit in.
it is.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
All of our RFPs and tender documents have a mandatory site visit with our engineers and all architects, et cetera, project managers that are part of that site. So either myself or Mr. Westerman will be part of that site visit, as well as our JML representatives, architects, and Able Energy. So those tender documents will be going through the Thunder Bay Construction Association and the Chronicle Journal is where they will be posted, following a similar tender process to what we did with our Brompton project.
So maybe the multi-year accessibility plan, what that entails? Councillor Smith.
I think we covered it already, but for the bowling alley restoration, or is that going to impact at all? Do we say the accessibility of the rec center? Like, are they going to go up at the gym and things like that? Will that still be open?
So when it goes to tender, they're going to be providing us with a specific schedule that will say which areas will be available to the public and which ones will not. So while they're working on the bowling alley, the restaurant and the rest of the building should still be, so it's essentially just from the gates in, but they will be providing us with an outline of what's going to be closed when, so we can provide that information to the public, so everybody knows this section's closed, this section's open, et cetera, so we still have use of our facility.
Great. Any other questions or comments?
Do you have a preference for which one I do first? Okay, so the first one on my list and my report is the recommendation for award of the active transportation improvement plan. So we received 3 bids from Northern Ontario companies. And after review from myself, Mr. Figilomini, the CAO, and Mr. Westerman, we have recommended RJ Burnside and Associates Limited to complete the assessment and recommendations for the township.
Councillor Muir.
So just to clarify, what are they specifically looking at?
So what they will be doing, this is kind of in conjunction with our asset management plan. So they will be doing a full assessment of all of the sidewalks within the township, the boardwalks, and I guess kind of most used walking paths that community members use. So the easement between Brompton and Stadler would be looked at. The trail between Frost and Taylor and the high school would be looked at as well. And as well as there's a community consultation piece in there. So community members who walk the loop or various other well-traveled streets for pedestrians would be looked at in terms of where do we need more sidewalks. So essentially, one of the requirements of this is to provide a map of red, orange, yellow, and green in terms of the quality assessment of our existing sidewalks, whether or not they need to be completely replaced, whether they're in good enough repair to last a couple more years, where any of the ramps have to be done to meet accessibility requirements up to current building codes, and if there's any areas where new pedestrian or active transportation pathways could be done. So widen shoulders out to the hiking trailheads, widening shoulders along our main streets, things like that. So they would provide us with concept designs that also include additional lighting, benches, trash receptacles. So it's a little bit of an urban planning, but also asset management project combined together, but it would give us low, medium, and high cost recommendations on how the township can attack making improvements to our infrastructure, which we can then take to funders and say, we're going to work on this section of sidewalk, we're going to work on this section of sidewalk, we're going to build a new walking path here with the lighting benches, etc. So it gives us, we can partition it out how we see fit, but we have this document that we need to get funding to improve our sidewalks and infrastructure around town.
That includes the roads then?
Just active transportation is walking. It's anything non-motorized. So walking and biking.
Okay.
Hiking, snowshoeing, etc. So
Yeah, because the word active. Should've gave it away. Okay.
non-motorized. So we do have do you have any other questions or resolutions when we're all done, or how would you like to? Okay, perfect. So the next piece is the multi-year accessibility plan. So this is a requirement by the province of Ontario for the township to be AODA compliant. So there were 2 pieces that the township was missing. One was an accessible website, which we have completed that work. So this last piece is our multi-year accessibility plan, which identifies barriers, looks at municipal policies, and kind of a general game plan on what the township is going to be focusing on in the next couple years. So thankfully, some of the projects that we already have underway have identified barriers and will be addressing some of those. But once again, this document also gives us what we need to go to funders to help us improve other accessibility components of the township. So this is it does say multi-year accessibility plan. This document can be revised at any time. Once a barrier has been addressed, we can remove it and add any new ones. So if there are other barriers that the community identifies, we could modify this document.
Okay, any questions or comments on that? Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to receive the report? Councillor Muir, Councillor Brand. Did you have your hand up? Oh, I thought you did. Oh, okay. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to enter into an agreement with RJ Burnside and Associates Limited to conduct an assessment on current active transportation infrastructure with recommendations for enhancement and preliminary design for Red Rock Active Transportation Improvement Plan in the amount of $49,852.30 plus HST? Counselor Brand. Counselor Muir. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, is there a mover and seconder for motion to accept the multi-year accessibility plan for the Township of Red Rock? Counselor Smith. Counselor Gladden. All in favor? All hands rising, motion's carried. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you very much.
Okay, report on administrative activities. So if the CAO would like to give a verbal report on the direction and discussion topics.
That was just looking for direction, final direction for the AMO 2023 conference in London. Mayor Robinson has said she would go. We're just, I mean, ideally that third member along with myself. So we're just looking for another member of council.
I'd be willing to go.
And then the council facility tour, I just wanted to tie up the actual facilities with council, just so that I had that, so I could make those preparations with staff. But from what I gathered, it was the wastewater plant, the water plant and public works. Was that the three that were generally where council wanted to have a look at? Okay. And then finally, I guess the last one would be the team building education session led by council and staff. Just if you had ideas to share with me, that's all I'm looking for there. Just some way that you had your input into that. And you can just share those with me by email, and we can put together something that is beneficial to all of us. Just a reminder, Thunder Bay District Municipal League starts Thursday, so we are attending that conference, and that's it, unless there was any other questions based on mine and or the recreation report that's attached. Other than that, that's.
Counselor Gladden.
What date was that facility tour again?
Yeah, I believe it is April 18th. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't have it on my calendar. That's.
We need
Okay,
to
thank you.
clarify that that's London, Ontario, not London, England, or are we safe?
It is London, Ontario.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments on his report? Seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for a motion to receive the report? Counselor Muir, Counselor Smith. All in favor? Hands rising, motion's carried. Okay, report on the summarized results from the community budget survey. Do any members of council have any questions? Councilor Brand?
I thought we were going to be provided with the written response.
We did.
The direction was to come back with what we came back with was the chart. We had actually filtered through the written responses and merged them into this document. So you would see that some of them would, I mean, a lot of written responses were non-budget related. So we had discussed how those written responses would not be part of the discussion. And other written responses were coordinated into areas where you saw how they grouped into one, like, I mean, we might have had 5 written responses that said, for example, we wanted to work more on our roads and this and that. So that's where we tied it into the pie chart. So the direction was not to come back with written responses, if I recall correctly.
That is correct, because there was unfortunately a lot of personal attacks on staff members. And it's our role to provide, a harassment and bully-free workplace. So those are not being shared. I can say, I think some people who are not used to or don't know all the technologies, that when you start searching people online, that you actually leave a footprint, so you can actually know who's accessing some of your sites. So some of the employees. So that's all I'm going to say on that, but we were not providing any of those reports.
Okay, then I misunderstood. I thought those were going to be left out and we were just going to be provided with the non, issue ones. So that's what I had understood.
Okay.
So they are in there, though. They are in there tied into the responses. For example, if you saw
The one that stood out to me actually was the very first. 1.39% are none of the above. Are you an urban residential, rural residential, business property owner? None of the above. I was confused.
with none of the above.
That was one of the answers, none of the above. So somebody didn't live here that filled this out,
Yes, correct.
right? So.
And those numbers actually, if you added it up, add up to 75 instead of the 73 responses that we get, because somebody might have been an urban resident and a business owner, for example. So that's where you see that. But again, the other comments were tied into the numbers, right? So, I mean, we didn't individualize comments, but they're all reflective in here based in the group, right? So it took a lot of work to go through that and tie those in. And this is in essence what you see that was budget related, whether it was a comment or a direct answer.
Any other questions or comments, Councillor Muir?
Just with the, how do you want your tax dollars spent? It was like distributed, right? Which is spread a little money kind of everywhere, which is good, right? The other one was increased to support new infrastructure. I mean, some of these were clear no, clear yes, but a couple of them with the options kind of show that I think a lot of people want to see a variety of things, but a lot of these answers were from what I'm looking at, and I'll go back up to the one, sorry, I'm scrolling up here. The one where it said, what services are most important to you and your family? Like roads and sidewalks, community economic, wastewater services, garbage collection was the highest, 73%. So I mean, these are things that, a lot of times that maybe we take for granted, but these are huge services, and that's what this points out, right?
Councillor Smith?
Is there, or were you able to glean anything from the responses that would impact any decisions made with regards to budget? Or do you feel that everything was fairly spread across evenly, that there was no really definitive?
I think generally that's what you would get when you get 73 responses. You're going to get that average response that you see it in some. You can see the same question can provide a completely dissatisfied to a completely satisfied answer. So, I mean, generally speaking, it is part of the budget process. I think you learn from it, but it's really hard to get that general perspective because you got so many different, like you said, somebody might, curbside garbage collection might be the most important thing to them, but somebody else, it might be recreation, right? So I think what you see is, I mean, I think one of the main things you do see is that, I mean, generally speaking, I would say the average or higher than the average people that took the survey are satisfied with the services that are being provided.
Thanks for that. I think with the unknowns as well, I think residents just don't know if we were to reduce a service, what it would be like with the few, services that we do have. So that's how I take the undecided numbers there. Okay, thank you. No other questions or comments? Okay, point 5 is the report on the telecom enterprises review of telecommunications services within the township of Red Rock. Do any members of council have any questions? Councillor Amir.
Hey, Mark, just want to give a little brief on this?
For me?
Just want to give a little brief on this?
Yeah, certainly. It's one of those things we want to bring to the attention of both council as well as the communities, showing that we do every day look for efficiencies and ways to save the township money. This is a study that is undertaken by a lot of corporations, a lot of municipalities, other organizations such as hospitals, and it's not, they will study their telecommunications. So what we did is we tasked telecom with this for the municipality, and what we did find was the fact that we were able to see a savings of $12,563.28 annually from this study, which shows about it's $1,046.94 a month. So when you look at it and you enter a contract with telecom in this case, how it works and how it shows in that breakdown is we are responsible for paying telecom to do their work. So when you look at it, that first year's savings of 12,000, they will take that over a 2-year period. So when you look at it on a 3-year perspective, our 3-year savings is $37,000 for the municipality, less the 12 that we pay for them to do the study. So generally, across the board, in the next 3 years, the township will save $25,126.56. So, and will be reviewed in 21 months as part of this initial cost. So if we see or they see that that something has gone up or this or that, and then we can see further savings there. The other thing we can do, and we will do now, and is we'll study it internally. If you look at the number of phones we have, for example, I mean, we still may be able to dwindle that down as well. So I think it's a good exercise. I know a lot of communities are using it. I've used it in the past with another community I was with, and we saw those savings. Again, going into it, if you don't see the savings, then you don't pay the bill, right? That's how you enter the contract with these guys. So they go in and they do a study and they don't see that you're saving any money, well, then the study's over, right? In this case, it's incentive for them as well, right? Because the more they find, but those are true savings, and that's based on your telephone, your telephones, your long distance, your internet, and those are the savings that you see based on the fact that they will, more times than not, have the ability to acquire government-like funding or government-like pricing. So, I mean, I think it's a real win. I think it's $25,000 that the township saves over 3 years. So.
And Councillor Smith.
These savings then that they have, say, as an example, internet, you have your $1,200 proposed $896. Now that's not them cutting services or reducing the services we have. It's just maintaining the exact same services just at a reduced price.
There's no addition or deletion to any. Actually, I shouldn't say that there's no deletion to any of these services. There actually is a bit of an addition to some of your telephone services based on features that you would get, and there's also additions through this to your speeds on your internet. So all of our internet services and speeds have been increased with this, as well as features on our phones, for example. I mean, like normal features like caller ID and those kind of things. So yeah, there's nothing that's been taken away here, but there has been some additions for this for this price.
Councillor Brand?
Does this include our fire services or is this just regular phone line?
Like our emergency fire.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, there's certain things that, so 911 obviously you see, and the tower lease. And it wouldn't, so that those kind of services, there's no way they can go out and save you money on that. So you wouldn't see savings based on whether it was our radios or our communications for fire. You'd see it on cell phones, but no, and you'll see that in there, right, based on 911 as well as our tower lease. And those are emergency lines that we have that you won't see those savings there.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Next item is 9.1 is a bylaw to appoint an area weed inspector in the Township of Red Rock. Do any members of council have any questions? And no, this is not somebody who's going to measure your lawn or do anything like that. This is something that needs to, every municipality needs to have a weed inspector. Maybe the CAO or can speak to that a bit.
Yeah, it deals with noxious weeds and it is legislated again by the province, and that each municipality in Ontario has what they call a weed inspector. We're seeing this come to the table because our current weed inspector is actually on our council now, right? So as it's turned over, so we do have to name it's annually or biannually a weed inspector, so we have to update our information. So what you see is it's legislated by the province, and I guess it's the Ministry of the Environment, and it's agriculture, sorry, Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. So the role would simply be, and I'll simply read it. The weed inspector provides interpretation and administration of the Weed Control Act. They investigate reports of noxious weeds on a right of way within the municipality or on agricultural land. So it's more of a reactive thing. It's probably something we won't see really a lot of here. But again, it's one of those quirky things that the province requires us and monitors that we appoint a member of our staff. So Mr. Westerman is going to be the weed inspector for Red Rock.
So an invasive weed that somebody may detect on their property.
Yeah, and there's a
Township
long list.
property, they would. Okay.
Purple stripe. It's a big list.
Okay.
Because it affects the Martian.
The simple one is poison ivy that I pulled off the list, but I believe there was a list of 25 that I could find.
Okay.
Ragweed, poison ivy, black dog strangling vine. I mean, like I said, there's 25. If you want a little bit of entertainment, Google what a noxious weed is.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a mover and seconder for motion to approve the bylaw and appoint Blair Westerman as the area weed inspector for the Township of Red Rock? Councillor Gladden. Councillor Smith. All in favor? All hands are rising, motion is carried. Okay, under unfinished business, if the CAO has any update on items 11.1 to 11.4, if you have any.
I can update that. I mean, our council committees, we have been working hard on a terms of reference. It's for all committees. It's pretty well done. It just, we didn't have time to get it through to this meeting. So I would expect that will be at the table next meeting as a sample. EMS consolidation, I do see it on the agenda this weekend or this Thursday and Friday. So I think there will be a lot of questions there. And really no other update based on that, on anything.
Councillor Muir.
Was I being appointed as to the beautification committee? Because I volunteered, I believe.
Yeah, and we made note of that but we still haven't gone through the general terms of all the
Okay,
committees, so
yeah.
we'll do it all at once, yeah.
Okay. I'll let Judith know I can't lift anything.
No other questions or comments? Okay, next item is bylaw to confirm proceedings of council. Can I have a mover and seconder to pass a motion? Pass the bylaw. Councillor Muir, Councillor Gladden. All in favor? All hands rising, motion is carried. Okay, thank you, everyone. Time being 8:13, no further business to attend to. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.